So, you want to buy an airline, your own name on the tail, your own jets parked at the gate, a legal license to move human beings through the sky at 500 miles per hour. Here's the strange part, and you should hear it before you sign anything. This is a business so essential that governments bail it out. And the math still says you will clear about $7 per passenger in a good year if you don't go bankrupt first. $7. The price of an airport coffee for flying a person across a country in a $50 million aluminum tube. Meanwhile, the person who leased you the plane and the bank that prints your miles each make roughly 10 times your margin. You own the airline. You do not own the profit. Now, we know money isn't a problem for you, so let's talk entry price. A small regional carrier can be stood up for around $10 million to $50 million. A real full-service airline with a fleet, $100 million to $300 million and up. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how a business this big keeps a slice this thin. What does an airline actually sell, because it is not the seat you think it is? Why is the single biggest cost one you can never control? And who is really getting rich every time your plane pushes back from the gate? Let's climb the acquisition ladder, rung by rung, cheapest real entry to the absurd top. Picture a side-by-side rate comparison of everything you could roll onto the tarmac. Rung 1, don't buy at all, rent. Over 40% of the world's commercial fleet, around 25,000 aircraft, is leased, precisely so operators dodge the capital hit. You will still wire millions in lease deposits, but you skip the $50 million plus purchase. Rung 2, the used metal, where real regional startups actually begin. A used Bombardier CRJ 900 runs about $9 million to $25 million. A used Boeing 737 to 800 goes for roughly $15 million to $30 million. A used Airbus A320, anywhere from $15 million to $55 million depending on age and cabin. Rung 3, buy new regional. A fresh Embraer E175 lists around $45 million to $55 million. When Delta ordered 20 new CRJ900s, the list price was $961 million, though fleet buyers never pay sticker. Remember that, because nobody pays list price. Real deals run 40 to 60% below the sticker. Rung 4, the workhorse, the new mainline narrowbody that is 80% of everything flying. A Boeing 737 MAX, 8 lists around $117 million. An Airbus A320neo, around $110 million. But the real market value for a nearly new one, closer to $52 million to $58 million, the A321neo, about $64 million. Rung 5, the Flex, the widebody long-haul jet. A Boeing 787-8 lists at $248 million. The $787, the 787-9 at $292 million. The 787-10 at $338 million. Airbus A350s, $317 million to $367 million at list. One top-tier long-haul jet at sticker is $333 million, just like adding one more yacht to the marina, except this one burns money the second it moves. Real prices land 30 to 60% lower across the board, but you get the picture. The ladder runs from a few $1 million to $333 million per plane, and that is before you have hired a single pilot or bought a single drop of fuel. Now let's open the books on what it costs to run this thing. Picture a cost stack bar chart, every line of ownership stacked side by side, and one bar towers over the rest. Most people guess it's the pilots, or the planes themselves. Wrong. The tallest bar is jet fuel. Fuel and oil eat roughly 28 to 29% of total operating cost industry-wide, and in fuel-exposed regions it climbs past 36%. Call it a durable 25 to 35% range. Here's why fuel is the monster, and not just a big number. It is the one cost you cannot control. You can't negotiate the price of crude, you can hedge it badly and pray. A single bad year in the oil market can flip the entire global industry from profit to loss, and it has many times over. You could run the tightest airline on Earth, full planes, happy crew, on-time gates, and still lose money because a war on the other side of the planet moved the price of a barrel. That is the ground your whole business stands on, and it shifts under you constantly. So before we even get to salaries, understand the biggest check you write every month is one you have almost no say over. Welcome to owning an airline, where your fate is written in a commodity chart you were never once allowed to touch. Now watch the odometer cost counter tick up on everything else. Second monster, labor, flight crew, cabin crew, ground crew, historically around 20 to 25% of total cost. Pilots, mechanics, gate agents, dispatchers, an entire army that legally has to show up before the wheels ever leave the ground. And crew is not cheap anymore. Low-cost captains in the US are pushing toward $270,000 a year. Ryanair captains pull $84,000 to €155,000. Even a new Spirit first officer starts around $84,000. Every one of those paychecks flies whether the seat behind them is full or empty. Next line, the metal itself, lease or depreciation or financing. Either you finance the plane or you rent it, but the line never disappears, it is permanent, and the lessor pockets the spread either way. Then maintenance. Keeping a heavy jet airworthy runs roughly $5,000 to $8,000 per flight hour, all in, and it climbs steeply as the airframe ages, which is exactly why old jets get retired before they wear out. Then the airport charges. Every landing costs you, call it $200 to over $1,000 in landing fees, plus en route navigation charges per flight. Notice who that punishes. The short-haul, high-frequency model that lands 10 times a day. Every takeoff is another invoice. And insurance and safety compliance. Roughly $15 million upfront just to stand a startup up before you have sold a single ticket, plus hull and liability every year after. Don't forget the invisible overhead either, the booking systems, the reservation middlemen who take a cut of every seat, the catering, the IT. It is the quiet bottom of the stack, and it never sleeps. Stack it all, and here's the brutal truth. Major airlines need roughly a 70% plus load factor just to break even. In one recent quarter, the domestic majors flew 84.9% full, against an 88.1% breakeven. Read that again. Planes flying fuller than ever, and still structurally underwater on the domestic core. Full does not mean profitable. It never did. So how does anyone make a dime? Let's build a money flow waterfall, revenue pouring in from every engine, and start with the one you would never guess. Engine 1, the real margin center, is not the flying. It is the credit card. Airlines sell miles in bulk to banks like American Express and Chase, who hand those miles to cardholders. Follow this. Delta earned around $7.4 billion from American Express in a single recent year, growing to $8.2 billion the next, and here's the kicker. That is larger than Delta's entire operating profit. American Airlines pulled roughly $6.2 billion from its card partners, 4 times its operating income. United's program, about $3.2 billion. For the 5 biggest U.S. carriers, over 90% of frequent flyer revenue comes from co-brand cards, roughly $28 billion in a year, about $35 per passenger at near pure margin. This is a financial services company that happens to own some planes. Engine 2, the nickel and dime, ancillary fees, bag fees, seat fees, boarding fees. Globally, that has exploded from $67 billion in 2016 to around $148 billion, headed for $157 billion, nearly 15% of all industry revenue. Bag fees alone clear over $1 billion a year at American, at almost zero added cost. And here's the myth bust: those fees did not get piled on top of fat fares. Real base fares have actually fallen around 40% over the decades. The fees replaced the fare, they did not add to it. Engine 3, the seat itself, the obvious business and the worst one. Budget carriers make just 3 to 5% margin on the actual seat, surviving on planes flown 85 to 95% full. The ticket is not the product, it is the loss leader that fills the loyalty funnel. Engine 4, cargo in the belly, empty hold space turned into cash. The lifeline that kept airlines breathing when passengers vanished overnight. And premium cabins that punch far above their floor space. Delta's whole strategy is a bet on wealthy travelers up front, the ones who pay for the lie-flat seat and swipe the platinum card. The seat gets you in the door. The card is what pays. Now the real question. If the airline barely profits, who's eating? Picture a margin donut, one slice for every player in the chain, and watch how thin the owner's slice really is. You, the operator, carry everything: the capital, the fuel risk, the union contracts, the safety liability, the 162 U.S. airline bankruptcies since 1978. Your reward? A net margin around 3.3%, about $7 a passenger. The best operators cleared 10% in a good year. The worst, Spirit, ran negative 22%, literally a penny short on every seat mile, 10.5 cents of cost against 9.6 cents of revenue. Now meet the people above you. The aircraft lessor, the one who actually owns the plane you are flying, earns a net margin around 26% and a return on equity of 15 to 16%. They buy planes forward from Boeing and Airbus and rent them to you for a guaranteed spread. No crews, no unions, no fuel bill. The financier of the jet out-earns the flyer of the jet by roughly 8 times for taking on far less risk, and above even them the miles. Those loyalty programs are worth more than the airlines that run them. SkyMiles, valued around $31.7 billion, Advantage, $26.7 billion, Mileage Plus, $25.3 billion. During the last crisis, all 3 legacy carriers mortgaged their loyalty programs to survive, and Americans' Advantage was appraised at 4 times the airline's own stock market value. Let that land. The frequent flyer scheme is worth more than the entire airline it is bolted onto. So here's the picture. You rent the planes from someone richer. You borrow against a credit card program worth more than your whole company, and you keep the thinnest slice in the chain. You own the risk. Everyone above you owns the profit. So, worth it? Let's settle it. You wanted your name on the tail, and you can have it for $100 million to $300 million just to get airborne. A fuel bill you do not control, a break-even you can barely clear, and 162 ghosts of dead airlines to keep you company. In exchange, about $7 per passenger in a good year. Even Warren Buffett called airlines the worst sort of business, one that grows fast, eats capital, and earns nothing, and then he dumped his entire multi-billion-dollar airline stake and walked away. But here's the thing. If you buy the airline to own the credit card, to own the miles, to own the loyalty machine worth more than the metal itself, then maybe, just maybe, you are not the sucker at this table. You are the bank with wings. If watching those numbers pile up was worth your time, do us a favor and hit that like button, then subscribe. That's the whole ask.